In this situation, I'm cornered by the enemy, so I run around, staying by the walls, to maximize my cover and damage. After I've killed them, I have to make a hasty retreat to make sure they don't follow me, because they're going to check that same spot right there again. Right now, the rest of my team is gone. There's no more blue spots left on the radar, as you see, so the best thing I could do is hide here, wait until they arrive, otherwise I'm just going to get swamped out. I spot some guys. They find me, but I can't really move out, otherwise I'm just going to get killed. I didn't think this clip would go on this long. A situation in which there is bad movement and bad cover. I'm being shot at. Instead of peeking my head out, I actually throw a grenade. Waiting for their arrival, I jump on these boxes to try and make a good situational advantage. But instead they throw grenades, and I die by my own gas. What poor movement, indeed. In this situation, it is more about awareness. I notice I am being shot at, and this man has poor aim, and I'm able to make a hasty retreat without even getting shot at. In this situation, I am at low health and need to have cover while the enemy is also approaching. Waiting for their arrival, the best thing I could do is take cover and stay against the wall. The fact that he has not spotted me was beyond me. The fact that this man ran up to me was also beyond me. This man is still moving. After killing this man, I have now realized that I must move at a very fast pace in order to stay alive. Or at least get to a different area.
We have taken objective Edward.
C'est un éclaireur ennemi. Mitrailleuse ennemie, par là.
I find some enemies too far away to take advantage of. This man is standing still, now I can give him the quick one too. I spot an enemy far back, however, in order to not die by approaching him, I must make a way around, for my weapon is not good at long range. My team has ended this man's life, but thankfully he has not ended mine. This round was fortunate for me. Although I was not running around the map like a lunatic, I still did good. In this situation, it is a hilly area, and I must take advantage of the hilly situation. The enemy too knows how to hide behind cover. It is a sloppy fight, none of us can land shots. One of us needs to advance. I spot that he is advancing, so I still stay behind cover while he moves. In the end, it was his fault for revealing himself too well. If you're being shot at, you should shoot back. Now ready to fight again, I took some pot shots at him. How unfortunate, I must still run back and heal. The best thing I could do is move around to another angle in which he was not expecting. Never peek the same place twice. I'm ready for him, only to find out that my weapon is without any bullets. After slaughtering that man, I decided to run in this hill for cover. I have done what I could. In this situation, I have the high ground, and there's a man out there trying to take my life. Fortunately, for me, his movement is weak. I hastily move around, taking as much cover as I can, only to realize that he is also moving around. I'm being shot from multiple people at multiple angles. Although it was better to stand and fight, I decided to leave and heal. Distracted by other things, I was able to get away. I hear a man behind me as he spawns. Refusing to move is refusing to live. There's a man behind this hill. The time to push is when the enemy cannot see you. A man on this hill who is quite skilled in movement and accuracy. In order to stop this skillful man, I must wait for him to approach me and stay behind cover. There is also a man with a very large gun in a very large house. It is best to avoid people like these. Just as I wanted, the enemy is now approaching me. As he gets closer still, he realizes he is not without cover, so he makes a retreat. Now I realize I am without cover, and I make a retreat. Being quite the sharpshooter, I must find a very strong defense for him to approach me with, such as this box. The man in the big house has spotted me. I also hear my enemy is shooting at something. This is becoming extremely grim. Decide to take some pot shots, for they are unaware of my presence. Unable to kill that man, it is looking pretty bad for me. I hear one man approaching. The others approach. I ready myself. They were both without defense, and it was their downfall. stay close to my team, only to realize I am also taking a lot of damage. So instead of suffering, I must get rid of that sentry gun. But not without full health. I'll push him from behind. Surely I will be able to make progress. The engineer is nowhere to be seen. I will dispose of his sentry. Taking the long way around, these two people were not suspecting me whatsoever. Easy to get rid of. Still moving backwards, I realize my team is nowhere to be found, and question if I should still keep moving backward. Thinking otherwise, I will stay close. Holding the objective point, I spot this pirate chasing after me. Backing into a corner was my ultimate mistake, as being in a small room with very powerful enemies is not very good. In this situation, I could have taken out that scout. I decided to remain unsuspected as I kept moving backward. Spotting a sniper of a very high hat quality, I decided to take him out, as it appears he is more skilled. Still moving backward, no one has suspected me, and I remain to take out their enemies. Staying with your team will result in better outcomes. But perhaps it is better to take the long way around and come from another direction in which they do not suspect. I decide to stay close to my friends, for they will protect me. However, it seems I have better things to do. Remaining undetected, I sneak behind enemy lines once again, only to be bamboozled by this enemy scout. In a slim victory, I make a hasty getaway, searching for friends and health, and that's just what I get. Being backed up by my pals, I'm now able to fight once more. Coming from an alternate angle, I could get rid of the silly hat man. I notice two people in the house, so I make my way around. Being spotted again, I will keep moving. Picking off one by one. Still being in the back lines, I find more enemies. Without them spotting me, I can pick most of them off, but without my friends, I am weak. In this situation, I spot two easy enemies, only to find out that they are strong in numbers. Instead of continuing the fight, it is better to have what you could get away with,
That was teamwork for sure.
instead of staying to your death. I spot an enemy on the other side of this fence. Instead of going the way they want me to go to, I decide to go around. A ridiculous melee duel. Spotting two enemies in the open field, I decide a 2v1 is not in my favor, and I get away. In this situation, you see, as I stay outside, I am able to stay alive, as immediately as I enter in a small confined space, I am torn to pieces by a man with a leather belt. Here I am playing on the high ground, taking as much as I can get. Height advantage is minimal, but it still makes a difference. As for this situation, it is better to go around than to be spammed out all at once. As you see, I take a side entrance to avoid being obliterated. In this situation, I show that going the long route instead of the respawn route is the ultimate example of getting an advantage over your enemies. Having the correct position can make all the difference in the world. So please, take your time. Here is a bad example of staying really close to the fight, only to be immediately shut down. In this situation, I saw one of my friends calling together to stay closer, which is a very rare occurrence. And they were even cooperating as well. How unheard of. In this situation, I'm being bombarded by an enemy sniper. To keep a pillar in between me and them will result in a victory.
Near your location.
In this situation, I'm able to get very strong armor, preventing a whole lot of damage. However, it is a very bad example, for I treat myself as if I am invincible, a walking tank of meat. I am acting as if I am not a regular player. Although I get a lot of kills, it still would have been more useful if I was with my team. If you own a weapon that does more damage upon a headshot, that should be the only thing you were aiming for. A body shot, it should only be when you miss a headshot. If you're not aiming for the most damage, you should not be aiming at all.
Feindlicher Soldat gesichtet!
Halfway there, the enemy has the upper hand.
In this situation, it would have been better to use a scope weapon to pick the far-off enemies. However, a scope does deprive you of peripheral vision, and will also end in your demise for having tunnel vision.
Vorsicht! Das ist einer ihrer Soldaten!
Here, in a closer example, I'm still being spammed out for not being at the correct distance. My friends are falling behind, so I will fall with them.
Ich schicke dir eine Granate!
Spotting some enemies, they do not see me, so I will take my time with each shot and be able to get accurate eliminations. A strange man appears. As I try to make my way around, it is unsuccessful, and I have to make a more direct approach, which was way more dangerous. In this situation, I will be demonstrating aiming instead of shooting. I will take my time precisely before I know I can make a direct shot. Anyone is good at shooting, but only professionals are good at aiming. This is another prime example of when not to use a scope weapon. Numerous enemies surround this hillside. I was unable to see them all unless if I had a weapon without a scope on it. In this situation, I'm using a scope weapon. I'm being distracted by the bullet travel time. Instead of actually aiming and shooting, I'm too distracted by aiming forward, backward, or up and down, instead of shooting like a normal person. And here you could see an uneventful fight at a very long distance in which no one is getting any progress. We both take each shot one after the other, only to realize that we will not kill each other, just hide behind and heal. This uneventful fight made me realize it was not worth fighting, and to walk away. As for close range weapons without aiming down the sight, you must focus on your crosshair only. Do not focus on your enemy. As dumb as it sounds, only look at your crosshair and make it line up with your enemy instead of the other way around. In these examples, I am able to hit shots but only about 5 to 10 damage at a time, for I am focused on my enemy instead of my crosshair. Here you can see how badly I am missing for only looking at my enemy. So please, try looking at your crosshair first, and making it line up with your enemy.